Good morning YouTube, Mike here, and I'm back. I haven't made a video for a little while. I've been going through kind of a rough patch. I've lost 4 people in the last month and a half, and I just sort of lost my motivation there for a while. But hopefully we can get back on the horse here and get going on this bandsaw. I have been moving forward on a lot of my projects, but just haven't been up to making a video. But these 4 people, 2 of them I currently work with, and one was my age, and he had a car roll over him, and another fella that I work with, he was in his upper 50s and he had a heart attack. And the third guy was a guy I had worked with for quite a few years, but I wasn't currently working with, and he lost the battle with liver cancer. Didn't even know he was fighting that. And then finally last week, my Aunt Maxine passed away, and her and her son, she lost her husband, and her and her son moved in with my grandparents. I lost my father about that same time. I was a year old, and my sister and I and my mother moved in with our grandparents, and my aunt was also living with my grandparents, and she was just finishing high school. So all 8 of us lived in that little 2-story house in Kalamazoo. I lived there till I was about 7 years old, from the time I was probably about 2 to the time I was 7 years old. So consequently I was, very close to my Aunt Maxine. And so hopefully this rough patch will be behind me now, and I'll get going again here. So where we're at is over here on this one side. I have added a safety switch, and it takes 2 10-amp fuses for this particular circuit, and I put those in there. Yes, the power is off, but no, the power is off on this. And I've wired this in, and what I like to do on my machine tools, I have a long extension cord that I plug into single phase. Here's the end of it. And when I want to use a machine tool that's single phase, I just plug in using that extension cord, whether it's my welders or particular machine. So I've got this safety switch wired in, and down here is the existing box that was on this machine, and I cleaned it all up, painted it, and I've got things wired into that now. It also has 2 10-amp fuses. I guess that's kind of redundant, but I could wire right past those 2 fuses, but since they're there, I'll leave them in there. So I'm ready to put the power on this motor. I haven't powered this motor up since I rebuilt it with new bearings, and if you remember, I broke the brushes, and so I had to order oversized carbon, and I had to make my own brushes for it. So it's got new bearings and seals and new brushes, and hopefully that motor, it's an oldie, hopefully that old ball door motor will run. And also I'm still waiting for one belt. I've got this belt that goes from the Reeves drive to the transmission, and I've got another belt here that goes to my air pump down here to the motor. The motor has a 2 pulleys on it, and then I have this belt that goes from the tachometer to the transmission, and the belt I'm waiting for goes from the Reeves drive, the other side of the Reeves drive, to the motor. So that's kind of one of the main drive belts. So I'm waiting for that one, but technically I can power that motor up, just see if it runs. I kept the original old Cutler hammer switch in here. It's kind of nostalgic, so that should still work. I cleaned it up, and you know, it appears to be okay. The contacts look alright. I'm leaving the table off for right now because if I do have to pull that transmission again, you know, it's just a lot easier without that table in the way. So I have done a little bit of paint work. I think the paint's good enough on this. There's that door that I fixed up. I left this big boo-boo in it down here. So this big hole in the face of it, these wires go up here to the blade welder and the blade grinder, and I haven't even messed with the blade welder. I'm just working around that for the time being, but you know, if I can get it working, everything up to this point, if I can get it working, then I'll focus on that blade welder and see what I have to do to that. And that's sitting over here with the top band pulley, and yeah, the blade welder is kind of a complicated mess. I'm not sure what I need to do to that, but we'll get it going. So I guess that's about where we're at on the bandsaw at this point. Hopefully I can get busy and get this thing wrapped up. There won't be many more videos on this. There's just not that much left to do. I just need to get off my can and do it. Of course, it's not like I haven't been doing anything. I have completed a lot of projects since my last video. But yeah, so that's where we're at. And so I had a viewer inquiry from Eduardo Hernandez from Puerto Rico, and he asked me what kind of oil I'm going to put in the transmission in this Doall bandsaw. And here's what I'm using, and a little shout out to my friend Steve Avis, and he's the one that told me what is good to use in these Doall bandsaws. Steve is a longtime auto mechanic and transmission technician, and he knows extensively what kind of oil to use and what transmissions and so forth. So this particular oil I ordered off the internet. I think it might have even come through Amazon, but the name of it is Ravenol. It's 75 to 90 weight. It's a GL4, and I'm told that the GL4, it's important to get GL4, not GL5, GL4. And so this is what I'm using, and it took probably, I'm going to say, somewhere around 3/4 of this quart to fill up my transmission. And interestingly enough, Eduardo is also restoring a Doall bandsaw. His is a 1952, so it's a little, well, quite a bit newer than mine. So Eduardo, if you're watching this hopefully answers your question. And here's something I got to do. I've got 2 bags of these mothballs. I put them in my boat when I store it for the winter, so that's where one bag will go, but the other bag will go in my dump truck because the field mice love to live in there, and they pee and poop in there, and they tear up the seats, and so the mothballs kind of discourage that. And a little project I need to work on today. These are 2 solenoids, new solenoids for my old Yamaha G1 golf cart, and I went to get in it the other day, and it wouldn't go forward. It would go in reverse, but it wouldn't go forward. And the way this works is it has a 2-stroke motor in it, and to go forward the motor runs in one direction, and to go backwards the motor actually turns in the opposite direction. So one's a forward solenoid, one's a reverse solenoid, and the forward solenoid I diagnosed, and that was bad, but you know, since I'm in there, I'm going to go ahead and replace both of these solenoids. So I need to take the old ones out and wire those in today. And so that golf cart will be back in service. So that probably will wrap it up for this video. I don't think I'll video that. That's just a matter of unbolting and bolting on the wires and so forth, and with any kind of luck, everything will work great after that. So anyway, been nice spending the time with you here today, guys, and we'll catch you next time. This is Mike, signing out.